Welcome to STEM with Miss Sarah. It is me, Miss Sarah here, ready to get in the experiment groove. We're going to go more into detail in this video about our biopharma module, focusing primarily on some biology behind medicine and thinking like an engineer. Before we go ahead into our first situation and experiment, let's go over some key words that you'll hear me talking about in this video and beyond. First, I need us to think about what happens when we feel sick, when we get hurt, when something just feels off, right? You can probably think of a nurse, a doctor, a parent guardian as someone we look to for help in these situations. But who can the doctors, nurses, and our parent guardians rely on to make sure that the medicine we give, the devices we use, and the other things to solve our problems are working properly and are actually safe? That's right, biomedical engineers. You may have heard of an engineer, which by definition is a person who designs, builds, or maintains engines, machines, or public works. Now you're probably like, wait a minute, there are plenty of people who solve problems that aren't technically engineers. And you're totally right. A lot of problem solvers think like engineers to find a solution or figure out a more efficient way to live or function. So although that was a long-winded way to get here, let's think about what exactly a biomedical engineer is responsible for. In the simplest terms and basic terms, biomedical engineering is a field that focuses on creating machines, devices, and technologies that can be used in hospitals and in healthcare settings to make people feel better. Biomedical engineering is a discipline, which is really just a fancy way of saying a study or an area of study, that deals with the development and manufacturing of prosthetics, diagnostic technologies, and ensuring safe medications are available. These initiatives combine with healthcare professionals to help advance the future of medicine and how each person can complete everyday tasks efficiently and comfortably. So for today's task and activity, we're going to be thinking like a biomedical engineer, but most importantly also like ourselves, right? It's important to keep this in mind as you're going along with these videos so that you can truly see yourself in a situation where you feel like you have the capabilities to do what we're talking about, and that's really because you do. So back to the main show, back off my little spiel. As we know, biomedical engineers have a deep wealth of knowledge in many different areas of science. Today we're going to take a deeper look at the ways in which our stomachs interact with medicine and use our biomedical engineering mind to solve any problems, really, that may come along. Our main objective of today's lessons are the following. 1, we are going to be able to describe how simulation is used to test the human body's reaction to medication. Number 2, we are going to explain how engineers can directly and indirectly help people who are suffering from medical issues, specifically those relating to the digestive system. So here's our situation. Let's say Jewel is an 8th grade student with a sensitive stomach, especially with certain foods and medication. Don't want to call her out like that. But recently she's come down with a little bug and has a high fever and some other symptoms. Her mom wanted to give her some medication to help the fever, but is a little nervous that it may upset her stomach. Right now, let's think together for ways to help. So when I'm nervous that a medication might upset my stomach, I usually eat a little something with the medicine. Maybe that's just a personal thing, but maybe we could advise her to eat something before taking the medication. Or what if we told her to just have a cup of tea? How many times has a parent guardian told you to do that? I know I heard that all the time growing up. Just, yeah, definitely advise her to lay down, drink some tea. Sure, maybe that could work. We could also take a different medication that doesn't hurt her stomach, but that might not get to relieving her fever. Maybe it will. We could also suggest she take a coated aspirin or ibuprofen instead of an uncoated pill. Or maybe she could take a fever relief medication and an anti-stomach ache medication, but that just seems like a lot. Can you think of any other alternate ideas to help our friend with her illness? While we were brainstorming there, we thought through one of the main points of contention for this experiment. Many of the things that are meant to help us feel better can actually hurt a different part of us. So for the sake of this experiment, we're going to say that Jewel is determined to take a medicine that doesn't hurt her stomach. So what should we do? We're going to act like engineers and pharmacists and create a coating for the pill that doesn't dissolve until it passes through the stomach. This is called an enteric coated pill. And we're going to create a recipe for our pill and then test it by observing its effectiveness in protecting a piece of candy placed in an environment that simulates the environment found in our stomachs. What do you think might be some of the main functions of the protective coating around the pill? The enteric coat protects the chemical components in a pill during packaging and handling, meaning the quality assurance during distribution is protected. It protects the pill from temperature, moisture, and light during storage. This is also related to quality control. If there's anything that goes wrong with packaging or distribution, it could ruin an entire logistical movement in the process. The coating could cover a bad taste of the pill or chemical, or it could make it easier to swallow due to texture. But what we're focusing on here today, it could prevent issues in the digestive tract and system, and also provide extended relief because it takes longer to digest. Sometimes the purposes are strictly cosmetic too though, and I know what you're probably thinking, well, why would we care what a pill looks like? It's just for us to feel better. But what about the companies that have to market the product? Engineers are the ones who consider all of the above mentioned. All right, let's get to the good part here, the experiment. So remember, our task today is to create a pill with an enteric coating in hopes that our friend's illness goes away without hurting or upsetting her stomach. We are going to think like engineers and create the best pill coating so that the pill can make its way through her stomach. We're going to use some household objects to simulate the situation because Miss Sarah here does not do actual guts very well, very gross, very grody. Anyway, our material list should be relatively similar to the following. You will need some cornstarch. You will also need some flour. Any flour is good, doesn't really matter what you got. You will need vegetable oil. You do need vegetable oil, don't switch out your oils. You will also need sugar. You will need sugar. Finally, you will need some plastic cups. This will be where you're going to be doing your experiment, and some spoons because that'll be your mixing vehicle. You'll also need paper plates. You will need special candy. I will say the green ones are my favorite. I get a lot of slack for it because everybody likes red, but it's fine. I also have some clear diet soda and some markers to write down which ones are control group and which one is our experiment group. So I'm going to do that now. I'm going to say control. That's going to go there. Then let's see, do this. Too many. What can I say? Maybe I should be a little bit more organized. Maybe. I don't know. Whatever works for you works for me. That's kind of what I say. All right. And again, this is just for our own kind of organization. So if you don't want to do this, you don't have to. So control. Oh, throwing things, that's okay. Control. And then I'm just gonna put E for experiment because I don't want to misspell something on a video. That'd be embarrassing. All right. You know what? And while I'm doing this, I'm also gonna be organizing my workstation. So that's good too. We're working through this all together, and that's all we can really ask for. I will remember which one is the cornstarch and the flour because I'm gonna start, kind of mixing some stuff around. So let's see. Let's put the cap on this, move this over. I guess they don't have to be out on a spread as beautiful as they were before, but it's all about science. It doesn't have to be perfect. That's the fun of it. Okay, and one last E for experiment. So now that we have created a better workspace, so now that we have everything pretty organized, as best as I think I can right now, a timer is also advisable if you can. You can use your phone, you can use a microwave, you can literally count if you have nothing else to do for the rest of the day. I'm not sure what you're up to. So now that my workspace is as organized as I can get it right now, so let's think about the different materials and the properties they have and what it's gonna mean for our experiment. So first we have the oil, and this is a binding ingredient. It's meant to keep the dry ingredients together and make the combination less sticky. It also makes the coating less soluble. Similarly, the flour and the cornstarch, which are our dry ingredients here, improve the workability of the overall mixture and are thickening agents. And they pretty much have the same consistency and texture. Okay, now I'm getting it on my hands, but that's okay. Kind of cross-contaminating, that's all right too. And we'll hopefully keep everything all together. Another material that thickens the mixture is the sugar. And when used properly though, it could improve the performance as a protective coating. So you can also think of it in terms of the candy that has a pretty good sugar coating. For the sake of this video, we are gonna make a few different coatings to see what happens. And at home, you're encouraged to do the same thing, but you wanna make sure that you properly label each mixture so that way you can adequately compare them. So I know I did control and experiment, so maybe afterwards I'll label them. For my first mixture, I'm gonna measure out exactly how much I want of each. And by measure out exactly, I mean I'm just gonna go for some spoonfuls here. So I'm gonna start with flour because it looks the most lonely to me. So I'm gonna go with a very scientific spoonful of flour here. Oh, and remember, we're making this coating for our pill here. So I'm gonna pick two of the same color, make it really as controlled as we can. So I have both of my candies here that will hopefully help our friend Jewel. So I have my flour. I think I'm gonna add a little bit of oil, and again, very scientific measure here. And I think I might just do these two. Oh, not mixing at all, never mind. Not gonna do just two. Actually, gonna start seeing what happens if I mix this together. Okay, I'm getting a little pasty here. All right, but it's not really gonna, I don't know if it's gonna do much. So I think I need to add something else because this is also kind of thick and I don't really want Jewel to have to swallow a pill that's just like double the size of what it initially would be. So I'm gonna add, actually, looks pretty good. I'm gonna add a little bit of sugar, but I'm not gonna do flour just because I might do that in another one. So again, gonna keep mixing it. If you wanna use your hands, go for it. I'm not gonna write just yet until I put the actual pill on it, but this is, never mind, here I am, just using my hands. Like I just said, not using my hands. No, I am using my hands. So it kind of looks like pizza dough a little bit, in like a weird putty color. But actually, I think I am gonna hold it there on that. So right now I'm taking my candy and then I'm going to make a nice little thin coating, as thin as I can really, but keeping it all in one kind of, okay, it kind of also looks like cookie dough, also kind of feels like cookie dough. But once I am done here, I'm gonna put that just next to my experiment there. Okay, so this is kind of looking like a little cookie dough ball that you might find in ice cream. It's a little thick, but that's okay. I'm also just gonna put, let's see, I used flour, so I'm gonna figure out a way to write it here. I used flour, oil, and a little bit of sugar, and I'm gonna move on. Next, I'm gonna get to orange. Kind of a really forgotten flavor in candy. It's really not my favorite thing, but that's okay. Again, we're not eating these, don't. I mean, yeah, I guess you can, but no, like I said, don't eat them. Okay, so starting again, we are gonna get some cornstarch here. Again, very scientific measurement of about a spoonful. Right there, nice, working hard. I'm also gonna put, because I'm feeling a little crazy, a little bit of sugar. About half-ish amount that I just did of the cornstarch. Not even all of it, because it looked a little much. Next, I'm going to put a decent bit of oil. That's kind of what I feel, because I really want it to work well. And I feel like this is really the key. It could not be, but we're working through science together. It's an experiment. All right, I'm not gonna put flour in it just because I don't feel like it. So now I'm gonna again do some mixing. Oh, whoa. We got a runny one here. I don't really love the texture. This is a lot puttier. No, the other one was a lot puttier, but this is good because it's not as thick. So I think I might try to put the candy in there, maybe a little bit more cornstarch, like a little, smidgen, a really scientific smidgen of cornstarch. Get another little mixy going. That did absolutely nothing, but again, we're working through it, we're trying things. I'm not sure. So actually, I feel like if I dunk this in here, it still might be okay because it's still gonna be fully coated. And you don't necessarily have to have a thick outer shell. So just gonna, yep, I thought I wasn't gonna get messy, but here we go. Oh, okay, all right. You know what? I like what I see here. Because it's all covered. It's still a little bit liquidy, but I think it's okay. All right, again, very scientific way of cleaning my fingers off, just brushing it on the side. All right, so again, in our experiment here, we used cornstarch, we used oil and sugar. All right. And then finally, I'm just gonna put all of them together, see what happens. So I think this one I thought would work. This next one, I kind of improved on what I thought would work. And this one, I'm just gonna have fun with it. Just make something as thin as I possibly can and protective as I possibly can, but with as many ingredients as I possibly can. And you know what? Saving the best for last, the green, gotta do it. All right, so just gonna go, I'm gonna move my green to the side. I'm gonna go flour here, about the same that I've been using last time. I'm gonna go also cornstarch here, maybe a little bit less than I've been using. Next, I'll go sugar, same, about the same amount. This is, I'm predicting it's gonna be pretty thick, but who's to say? We don't know yet. All right, so again, putting maybe a little bit more oil than I have been using before. Just kind of eyeballing it and doing it. All right, again, one last mixing vessel. I don't think that's the right word, but it sounded right to me. And so I'm gonna keep saying it. Oh, okay, so this is not bad, honestly. Okay. Wow, okay. This is looking like a more legitimate version of our little coat here. So I don't know if this is really gonna give us the full coverage that Jules' stomach needs, but I don't know. Okay. All right, I really like what I'm looking at here. So again, gonna dip her in, maybe even give a little coat this way. Oh, I think this one's the money. This was supposed to be just kind of like figuring it out, but you know what? We figure it out together. So, okay. Yeah, again, the texture, I thought it was gonna be a lot thicker than it was, but maybe I just put a lot of oil in it. So again, I'm just gonna call this all. So now that we have made our coats, our enteric coating, we are going to put some clear diet soda into all of our little cups here to simulate the stomach situation. So I'm gonna put here, here, and here. And again, we're gonna do it in comparison to our control group. So it's important that we're labeling it all and keeping it all as relatively organized as we possibly can. So again, another scientific, we'll get to the explosion later, hopefully. Okay, yeah, I like water, not really. If you couldn't tell, I don't really need a lot of extra energy. Soda was never really accessible to me. So I'm going to do it just so that there's enough for the pills to be covered. So you don't need, to fill this all the way up. You can kind of just go along. And while I'm doing this, hopefully you're doing something similar or watching, laughing, it's all good. Okay, so all of these are covered and I'm gonna cover this. And so once I put the pills into the mixture, you're gonna wait about 10 minutes to see what happens and we're gonna observe after that. So I'm going to place them in. Let's do the control groups first. 1, 2, oh, they're sizzling, yikes, stomach ache. Okay, control here, not sizzling. Oh, sizzling. Also, a little, oh, never mind. Okay, they're all moving. So we just dropped it in, we're waiting 10 minutes and we're gonna observe what happens after that time. But in this break, you can feel free to mix the cup and the mixture. And also think about how it simulates the human digestive tract. So in your stomach, there's a decent bit of acid that breaks down food and liquids in your body. There's this churning and movement too, so mixing it around won't mess it up, won't mess up the experiment. You can ask yourselves the following questions or do some of the following activities. First, why is it better to test the pill in a simulated environment rather than testing it directly on a human? Also, if you were an advertising executive, what would you look for in a product here? How would you make sure that consumers felt safe with your product? You can also do a little dance if you want, and you can play a little air guitar, take a little nap, do whatever. Okay, so now that we are back, let's look at what happened and what has not happened. So, I'm looking here, I've got some messy area. Again, maybe that's the theme of my science, a little messy. So what I'm gonna do, since we're gonna look primarily at the colors, I'm actually gonna clear these plates away, and I'm just gonna label them. So I'm gonna do that now. Okay, let's see, we got 1, 2, 3. And remember, our control group is the pill that we didn't do anything to. So we just took it as is, put it in, didn't manipulate it at all. Our experiment is what we did manipulate. So first one, we had experiment and we had the flour, we had the oil, and then we had the sugar, and then I keep moving this. Then we had cornstarch, oil, and sugar, and then we brought them all together. And I thought it was gonna be great, but you know, it wasn't bad, it just wasn't great. Okay, so I'm gonna clean these all up. Everybody say bye, 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 just like NSYNC once said. So now I'm going to put all of them here. I'm going to put this one in the middle, this one over on the edge, maybe move it in a little bit. And again, what we're looking at here is really kind of comparing colors and also the state of the pill. So now that we have it on some white background, it might be easier to see. So our first experiment that we did here, where it had a really thick coating with the cornstarch, the oil, and the sugar, did the best in terms of human kind of interaction, right? So nothing, the stomach didn't really, the acid in the stomach didn't bring it together, didn't break it down. Your stomach's in pretty good tact if you don't have any food coloring or any dye in the mix. But look, in comparison to the control group, it's a pretty purple water. So you move over to our next one where we had the flour, oil, and sugar, which did, I guess a little bit better than our other one. Maybe it's just because the color isn't as bright and as shocking. This one kind of looks like stomach bile a little bit, so I guess this one kind of does too. But anyway, you know. So with this, what might have worked a little bit better is if we put a little bit more flour in it and gave it kind of that thick coating that our first one did. This one, if you remember, just had a little bit of oil. It was pretty thin in terms of its actual coat, which I thought was kind of cool in terms of scientific, like Miss Jewel wouldn't have to swallow a gigantic pill, but stomach-wise, she might be leaving with a bellyache. And then finally, in our last group, with all of the things, again, I might have put a little bit more flour to make it thicker and maybe a little less oil. Again, I think I was thinking more so in the terms of not making it as thick, but you know, first and foremost, great job to this group. Well, great job to me because I did it, but this one was pretty good. I'm just, you know, if I were to do it again, I would probably try to add more cornstarch or flour, but maybe not make it as thick as this. So that was pretty cool. I wasn't expecting all of these results, especially for our first group, to work the best. But now it's time to really think about how it relates to our real life and how our biomedical engineering process kind of worked in our mind there. So this was a real life problem, and maybe one that many of us have gone through in a similar way. Biomedical engineers work with other people in the medical discipline to make sure that products, devices, technologies, and more are accessible to us every day. So I encourage everyone to think about and reflect upon how you could see yourself in a career in this field one day. What are some real life situations that you wish could be made easier? Or what are some things that you're really interested in finding a solution for? You got this. I know you do. So thank you all so much. I just want to say thank you for hanging out with me while we did this, while I kind of tinkered around and used weird words and stuff like that, rambled through it. To those who decided to laugh with me, not at me, as I tried my best to make my way through all these STEM videos, or this STEM experiment, thank you, I appreciate it, and leave you with some key advice. If you can laugh at yourself, you are already way ahead of the rest. So thank you everyone, see you in the next video. This is Miss Sarah from Girls Inc. saying stay strong, smart, and bold.